Welcome to everybody to 3Beards of Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Shane. Below me is Gabe, and across from me is Adrian. We are back with another episode. This is
Thank you for having us.
episode.
Thank you for having me. I see some stuff I need to tweak. That I was looking at, made my eye twitch. I was like, motherfucker. You know, my OCD started kicking in real bad, Shane. It was a problem. It's a problem. I was looking at it. It was a problem.
It's all good. So this is our Christmas episode. Next week we will have the Renos on. We did push the Renos back because we have a fantastic guest, and I can't wait to jump into this. We will handle two things real quick, and then we'll bring our guest right on. If you are looking to be a professional wrestler, a referee, a ring announcer, a valet, Fort Knox is doing tryouts right now. One tryout for $75, or if you bring a friend, it's $50 for the both of you, $25 each. And our next upcoming show is January 24th in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, back at the Eagles Hall. So if you guys need tickets, hit any of us up, hit Rob Knox up, hit the Fort Knox page up, or Classic Championship Wrestling Facebook page. And our guest will also be at this show. So, our guest. You want to lead our guest?
Our guest. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to introduce this man is a wrestling legend. He is an icon in wrestling itself. He is a manager extraordinaire. This guy is a walking almanac of wrestling knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 Beards likes to welcome Mr. Harvey Whippleman. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Man, I appreciate you having me. When I heard all those accolades, I was looking around to see did Bobby Heenan come back to life or something. You know? I'm proud to be on here. And Eagles Hall, Lebanon, Pennsylvania, January 24th. 6 p.m. is bell time. I believe 5 p.m. The doors open. I can't wait. I haven't been there in close to 30 years. The last time I was there, I managed the great Rob Knox, one of my dearest friends in the business. And no matter who I've ever managed over the years through the Memphis territory, other territories I worked for, and the World Wrestling Federation / World Wrestling Entertainment. Anytime I do an interview about who all I manage, you can look it up too on
YouTube.
Wrestling. What's the name of it? Wrestling something. Dadgummit. I can't remember the name of it, but it's where they list all the different people that I managed. I always mention Rob Knox as one of them, and I can't wait to reunite with him January 24th at the Eagles Hall in Lebanon, PA. Dadgummit, if I had to try to think of it, I remember the name of that site.
It was up here as onlineworldofwrestling.com. It lists all your people that you have ever managed.
That's the site. Thank you. That's the site. Thank you.
If you guys check that list out, oh my God. That is list. That's a list longer than my one night.
So let's jump off.
Well, guys, remember this. I've been doing this since 1979. This is my 46th year, going to my 47th year in the business. So, honestly, I've been through a lot, but I've had a lot of good teachers, a lot of good people that were there for me. Actually, I did a podcast last night for Gunnar Udi, who is Sid Udi, Psycho Sid's son. He's got a podcast as well. And I did his last night. And I can't remember the name of the podcast, but you can easily Google Gunnar Udi podcast.
Yeah, he's trying to break into the business.
Right. He's I think it's August 29th in West Memphis, just across the bridge from over here where I live. It's going to be his first event, and I'm going to be a part of that too. But we can talk more about that closer to August. But and I'll be glad to help promote that, and maybe some of y'all can come down to it. We'll see. That you never know. That would be great.
You said Memphis, right? I'm not too far away from Memphis, so you know what I'm saying. I'm just tiptoe to the window.
Where you located, Adrian?
Right now, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, Ohio?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you cut out for a second. Okay, well, that's 500 miles, but still, that's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad. That's not too bad. I drive to Pennsylvania in a day, so yeah, it'd be fine.
Yeah. So, but hell yeah.
We all love traveling to wrestle.
Oh yes, we do. Especially when we got those road stories. I could just imagine some of the stories that you have. Like, oh my goodness, like ones that you.
There's some funny ones. I don't like to talk about the tragic ones because y'all know I was involved in a very tragic one, which I will touch on it at some point. But to me, the funniest thing, there was a guy that used to travel with me in Brooklyn Brawler. Brooklyn Brawler is my dear, dear friend, and we've traveled together for many, many years. Well, at one point, Howard Finkel asked us to drive Giant Silva around because he couldn't rent a car. He couldn't drive me. Nice guy, but honestly, in all my life, he may just be the dumbest guy I ever met in my life.
That makes sense.
And, yeah, I mean, he was just as dumb as a box full of doorknobs. And we would go into a restaurant, and people would obviously, even if they weren't wrestling fans, they see a guy that's 7'5" and has got a head the size of a mailbox. Well, of course, they're going to stare and look and everything. So one day, me and him and Lombardi were getting ready to go in and eat at a place, and he says, "Bruno, please, when we go in, do not tell people I'm a giant. I don't want people to bother me." There's no punchline there. That's it. Don't tell people he's a giant. A guy walks in the size of a refrigerator, and he thinks the reason that the people bother him is we tell him he's a giant.
He damn sure a lock dog, I can tell you that. 7'5", you half the damn building, son. Oh, don't tell me you're a giant. Okay, I got you. That'll work. That'll work. I just I just tell him you're my invisible friend.
And then one night we were going from Los Angeles to San Diego, and Silva said, "I want to drive. Let me drive. I like to drive." So we said, "Okay, we'll let him drive." He's speeding. Me and Lombardi are in the back seat. We keep saying, "Paulo, slow down, Paulo, slow down." Me no slow down. Me drive. Here comes a cop behind us. Lights us up. "Paulo, pull over. The cops are after us." Me no pull over. Here's 2, 3 cops now. Looks like they're after Charles Manson. We said, "Paulo, you have to pull over." He pulls over. Here comes all these cops. Me and Lombardi roll down the back window and say, "Officer, just to let you know, he's a giant. Don't be alarmed when he gets out of the car. He's a giant." And they said, "Is he a friendly giant?" And we said, "He's a dumb giant." That's what we said. And he got out of the car. He wasn't drinking or on drugs or nothing. He's just so dumb. I guess in this country, you can drive as fast as you want. Well, anyway, they want to check him for DUI. They got him on his knees doing the flashlight in his eyes and whatever because he's too tall, you know. And we said, "Oh my God, if Vince and them drive past and see this giant on his knees on the side of the highway and wonder why he's driving me and Lombardi around." So he ended up getting out of it. We talked to the cops and told them who we were and everything. But I'll tell you, me no pull over. Me no want to. You have to, Paulo. So that's what happens when you're dealing with a guy with a Cadillac body and a Volkswagen brain.
Damn. Damn. That's perfect. That's perfect. I like that dumb as a box of doorknobs. Every thought don't get a turn.
It's kind of like driving around with Shane.
No comment. No comment.
So y'all. So Eric. Can I get a show of hands of everybody who's ridden in the car with Shane? You don't count, Shane. Okay. You don't count. You don't count. So
it depends on which car he's driving, though, Adrian. It depends on which car he's driving.
I've been in plenty. I was in that. What was the one? The one with the blue one with the twin turbo or whatever the hell that shit was. It gave me a face. Huh?
It's actually gray.
It's gray. Yeah. That's.
Anyways, we're getting off.
I'm really 75, but that facelift he gave me that day driving that car, I look 30.
So you mentioned that you debuted in 1979. So like, what was like the process of breaking into the business like in that time period?
I'm sorry. Will you repeat the question, Shane?
Yeah. So you debuting in 1979. Like, what was like? How was like breaking into the business then? Like,
Well, it was like this. I didn't break in the conventional way. There was a territory back, as y'all probably know, back in the 70s and 80s, and even prior to that. It wasn't just the nationwide company like WWE and so forth. It was territories all over the country. When there was a territory called Mid-Continental Wrestling, it was West Virginia, Kentucky, parts of Virginia, and parts of Ohio. A guy named Dale Mann was the promoter, great guy. And they were running an event at a fair there at the Ohio, West Virginia. I'm sorry, Pennsylvania, West Virginia border. And I was 14 years old then. And I was at the fair because a guy I knew was working at the fair putting up the stages or something. Anyway, I was just walking around and there was a tent set up. And I peeked in the tent and there was wrestling going on. And I walked in to watch it because I was just walking around. I was 14 years old. I had no money or nothing. And the guy that worked for the fair was at the flap, where you walk into the tent, and said, "Have you got your ticket?" And I says, "Oh, no, I'm just here at the fair." He goes, "No, this is separate from the fair. You have to pay a ticket." I think it was $5, which, and I didn't have any money. I couldn't go in. Well, the guy that worked for Dale Mann was standing there nearby. He goes, "I'll make you a deal. If you'll help us take down the ring afterwards, load it on the ring truck, I'll let you come in and watch the matches." And I said, "Okay." So I was there, and I got through taking down the ring. To make a long story short, they ended up paying me $15 as well, which when you're a broke 14-year-old kid,
he was one of them.
Yeah. So they said, "We're moving on now to Ohio and on to South Dakota. They're doing a fair tour." And they said, "You want to come with us? And we'll pay you every day and we'll feed you and give you a place to stay." Shoot, I thought I hit the jackpot, man. And that was my first day in the business. I started for Dale Mann's Mid-Continental Wrestling. And I wanted to be a manager so bad. Then this other guy was a manager. I was watching him. I said, "Man, I bet I could do that." I thought naively, as a manager, all you had to do was yell at the people in the crowd and call them stupid and ugly and yell at the good guys. That's all. Of course, there's a hell of a lot more to it than that, which after 46 years, I, pretty much know about everything there is to know about the business. But I wanted to manage so bad. So finally, they put me in a little suit and they let me go to ringside and manage a guy. So I wasn't even smart to the business yet. Maybe they thought I was. So the referee leaned over, as they do, as y'all know in the business, and called a spot. He says, "When so-and-so," which I don't even remember the guy's name, that's why I'm saying so-and-so, "when so-and-so hits the ropes on your side, trip him." And I says to myself, "Hell, I'm not going to do that. That guy will beat the shit out of me. I'm not going to trip him. Maybe the referee don't like him or something. I ain't doing that." So the guy hit the ropes on my side. I stepped way back. The guy evidently didn't realize how stupid I was. I guess he felt when he hit the ropes, he thought that was me tripping him. So he took the bump, and I didn't ever even tripped him. So we got in the back, and Dale Mann said, "You know what?" He goes, "Maybe it's time we did teach you the business," because he didn't know. He realized I didn't know. So they sent me to a guy named Newton Taptree, who was Gito the Mongol, who was Nikolai Volkov's tag team partner as the Mongols, and later Bill Eadie, Mass Superstar's tag team partner, who was one of the Mongols after Nikolai left to beat Nikolai. So he had a wrestling school, believe it or not, in Pennsylvania. So they sent me over there, and he had a big barn with a ring in it. So the deal was he would teach me the business if I worked for him during the day at his farm. So that's what I did. I worked for him in the day, and at night he would teach me the business. And when he would run events, I would go around and manage. And I learned little by little how to be a manager. So along the way, they had a pretty big event. They brought in a bunch of guys with big, well-known names, and got him Jonathan Boyd, who was one of the Royal Kangaroos, was there. He got me booked in NWA, which was Kansas City at the time, where Bob Geigel was the owner of the Central States Wrestling out of Kansas City. And also at the time, he was the president of the NWA, back when the NWA was the governing body of professional wrestling. So I got to Kansas City, and I was managing there. But Bob Geigel, great guy, and I love him. He's no longer with us, super guy, very old school. But he didn't want me to run around the ring and do all my funny, stuff and get involved. He just wanted me to do the interviews and then sit in a chair in the corner. And unless I had to be involved, get up and do it, go sit back down. I didn't like that. That ain't what I wanted to do. Well, Rocky Johnson, who became like a surrogate father to me, I love him to this day, even though he's no longer with us. He's my heart. Rocky Johnson said, man, they're wasting you here. He goes, how about I'm going to Hawaii to take over the booking for the Maivias. He was married to Ata, who was Peter Maivia's daughter. He says, how about I bring you to Hawaii and let you manage there and do what you can do. You can learn as you go, and you can do what you want to do and learn how to get over. So Rocky, here I was, maybe 17 years old, and I'm on my first airplane in my life going to Honolulu, Hawaii. I mean, can you imagine? It's like I hit the jackpot. Like I said, I'm 17 years old, managing, living in Honolulu, Hawaii, on Hawaii Kai Beach with Lars Anderson. So I stayed there for 9 months and managed and worked in the office on the days that we didn't have the matches. I'd answer the phone in the office and take care of business in the office. 1617 Kapiolani Boulevard, Honolulu, Hawaii. So that right there was the beginning of my career. That little synopsis right there was how it all began.
Wow. 14 years old, being able to travel around and to end up 17 years old in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Exactly. And then I'll tell you what, from there, see, to me, because, my home area is the Memphis area, obviously. And like I said, back then it was territories. Like WWF was not worldwide. It was the New York territories, the Northeast, right? I spent my whole life growing up watching Memphis wrestling, because back then you thought the only wrestling there was what you seen at home, So to me, the big time, which it was big time, but it was to be on Memphis wrestling with Jerry King Lawler, Eddie Marlin, Jerry Jarrett, Macho Man Randy Savage. The list is immeasurable. And Lawler came to Hawaii, and that's when we first met. I didn't meet him back in Memphis at home. I met him in Hawaii, and they had me manage him one night in Honolulu at the big show. Lawler loved my managing. He loved the way I could talk and everything, and I was a bumping manager too. And he said, "You ready to come home?" And after I said, "Yeah," he goes, "We don't have the spot right now because Jimmy Hart is, getting the big push right now. We don't have another open spot. It's just, as soon as there's a spot, if Hart leaves or something or whatever, you got the job in Memphis." Well, to make a long story short, if it's possible at this time, when Hart left to go to WWF, I replaced him in Memphis, and that's when my career shot to the moon. And I started. I was always making a living at it since I was 14. Nothing I was getting rich at. But when I got to Memphis, man, I never wanted to leave. I had to leave sometimes. I went to other territories, but man, I was like in heaven. I was a big fish in a small pond. I was making good money. And by this time I was like 19, 20, whatever. And I was doing very well. I had a Lincoln Continental, and it was Tojo Yamamoto bought me a Lincoln and made me a deal. If I drove him to all the towns, I'd have to pay for it. So he bought me a 77 Lincoln. And this is like in 84 maybe or whatever. So it was pretty, up-to-date newer model vehicle. So I was doing real well at that point. I'm very grateful to Dale Mann. I'm grateful to Guido Mongol. I'm grateful to Rocky Johnson. I'm ultra grateful to Jerry King Lawler because he strapped a rocket to me and sent me to the moon. All those guys were very instrumental. Lawler gave me my career. I got to tell you, Lawler gave me my career. If he hadn't used me the way he did, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
So you've had the privilege of managing a lot of people,
Right.
From Psycho Sid to Kamala to Bertha Faye. Is there one that stands out in your mind that says that's the one that I thought could have went bigger and better and exploded beyond what their potential was?
In all honesty, there's a couple. One is Jack Gonzalez. Okay. Now, I'm not going to insult y'all's intelligence or the viewers that he was a great worker in the ring or nothing, because he obviously was not. He was all what we call all hat, no horse. Okay. He had the look, he had the imposing thing. He wasn't a dumb guy like Silva. He was a smart guy. He just wasn't very talented in the ring. He was in very poor health. He had very bad knees. He was a severe diabetic. So if his work would have been just a little bit better and his health was a little bit better, I believe, and I did very well with him. We got along fantastic. I loved him very much. But I really believe that Gonzalez could have went to the next level, because if we'd have got it after the Undertaker program we had, they knew that they call it storyline now, but in my day we call it a program. And, after the program with Undertaker, they realized that he just couldn't cut it in the ring, which is unfortunate, because I think the next thing slated, if his work wasn't so bad and his health, was going to be a run with Hogan. So I hate that didn't happen. And then the other guy, and I hate this, he's a good friend of mine to this day, and we do a lot of appearances together, is Curtis Hughes. We were going to have a big angle with Undertaker, which Undertaker was looking forward to it after the run with Gonzalez, who was hurting him unintentionally every night. Curtis was a great worker, and still probably is. Curtis just had some personal issues, which it's all in the past now, so I'm not going to dig up no dirt. Great friend of mine. He knows that he caused himself some issues back in the day. So we ended up not having the big run with Undertaker. So instead of me being main event SummerSlam manager, Mr. Hughes versus Undertaker, at that point, I ended up in another exciting match, managing like Quang against, an opening match guy or whatever. So that was unfortunate, to say the least. Unfortunate. But you know what? I'm sitting here eating chicken wings. I'm healthy for a 60-year-old. I'm talking to some great guys, having a good time, having a beer. I can't complain. I mean,
growing up, like my uncles used to talk about you like constantly. So when I told them about this, they were like, "Hey, you're interviewing who?" I was like, "Yeah." So they used to watch you a lot in the Memphis territory, especially when you got there with Lawler. What was the biggest difference being in the Memphis territory with Lawler that made such a huge impact in your career? You said it was more like the way he used you, or was it just like you kind of knew the area a little bit better, so you can kind of like let loose a little bit more?
Both of those things you said is very true. Yeah, I knew what I could get away with, what I couldn't, and Lawler used me good. The thing was, especially when you're young to the business like me at that time, not now, of course, but at the time, guys want to take advantage of you. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about nothing. I get what you mean. I'm talking about it in the ring or whatever. Like Bill Dundee made it his business to, every time if I wasn't paying attention, he'd roll out and kick me in the balls, or he'd rip my pants down, or he'd punch me out, knock me out. Not for real, you know what I mean? But I have to sell it. And it was just, Lawler said, Jesus Christ, Bruno, we're trying to build you up. That, in other words, I'm always tripping people or throwing powder in their eyes or distracting the referee and then throwing a chain, whatever. And everybody in the audience wants to see me get my ass whooped. But if we don't get to me, they're going to finally build it up where if Downtown Bruno, if his guy loses tonight against Jared King Lawler or whatever, that he has to wrestle Jared King Lawler next week, then it will sell out the auditorium because they waited to see me finally get my ass whooped. But if Dundee's, beat me up every day, the people hadn't seen it. It was taking money out of my pocket and out of the houses. So we was in McMinnville, Tennessee one night. It was in 1987. Rocky Johnson and Dundee were tag team against my team. And long story short, Rocky says, Dundee's going to crawl underneath the ring tonight when you're not looking. He's going to trip you and kick you in the balls and pull your pants down. He goes, when you don't see him, he goes, Bruno, jump up on the apron, stomp him in the head, make a fool of him, and run back to the dressing room. And that's what I did. Dundee was freaking furious. I mean, steam was coming out of his eyes. So later that night, there was a battle royal. And back in the Memphis territory, the manager would come to the ring for the battle royal and stay there at ringside. When Dundee rolled out, he hooked both of my arms behind my back, ran my collarbone into the ring post, broke my collarbone, and said, that's what you get for effing with me, blah, blah, blah. He goes, I'm going to get you fired in the morning. I'm going to tell Jared to fire you. Well, he almost got fired for that. I didn't get fired. What he did was wrong. Me and him made friends over the years, and we ended up getting a mutual respect for one another and whatnot. But the bottom line is, that was the day I took a stand and said, you're not going to F with my money. You're not going to, that's just as bad as going into my wallet and taking my money. That was taking my money because my whole heat was based on nobody gets to me. And that was in a spot show in McMinnville, Tennessee. But if it had done it in one of the regular towns, Memphis, Louisville, Evansville, Nashville, Lexington, Kentucky, Jackson, Tennessee, Jonesboro, Arkansas, whatever, it would have really lowered the expectations for me when I finally got in the ring with Lawler. Now, once that happened, the floodgates were open. All bets were off. Then I was bumping for everybody. But the first initial one is the important one.
Yeah.
So, and when Lawler did finally get to me, the auditorium became unglued everywhere we went. So that's
I do have a question for you, sir. How did that fruition come from being on the outside to transitioning into the squared circle?
Even as far as being a manager or what I was just
from going from managing to taking bumps, taking falls, like where was that transition and how did that play out in your career?
Well, I'll tell you, it's like this. I learned the old time way. I was never formally trained per se. Guido Mongos, his way of training me was I worked on his farm all day, put up the ring and took it down when he ran shows. And I would be in there in the ring when the guys were training, and I would watch them learn to take bumps and everything. That's why I would learn to take bumps. And I ain't gonna say I wasn't formally trained. I was kind of half-ass trained, but I knew how to take bumps, and I wasn't scared to take bumps. I always want to take my own bump, though. I don't like taking like a press slam because I can't control how the guy throws me and breaks my neck, and I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life or whatever. But as far as you hit me, I'll take a bump all day long. I would love it when you flip me over the top, throw me over the top rope. I'd take that bump all day long. I knew how to do it. So it wasn't a problem. That's why I made money and got hired in all the different territories, because I was a bumping working manager. I wasn't just one that stood there. There's nothing wrong with that. Like some of the old time wrestlers and whatever, they couldn't take, like, nothing wrong with Freddie Blassie's managing, don't get me wrong, but he was 70 or whatever plus years old by that time. He couldn't be slung over the top rope or whatnot. So that was where I came in. I could do all the stuff that some of the other managers couldn't do. And I've given WWE and every other organization nothing but a thumbs up for giving some of the older guys, which they do for me now, still a job that we can't do what we used to do. So I think it's great.
Oh, wow. So who was your favorite tag team to manage? That's my question.
The Batten twins.
Ooh, okay.
The Batten twins. I managed them in Kansas City. I've got Brad's mass card where he passed away up here on my wall. I loved those guys. I loved Brad and Bart, the Batten twins. I say that to everybody without hesitation. When I went to Kansas City territory, they this is my second run there. I had 2 runs in Kansas City. I went back there in 88. Late 87. I'm sorry. When I was a lot more experienced in the business. I'd been in the business 8 years or 9 years at the time or whatever. They were a babyface tag team. When they knew I was coming in, they knew who I was and everything. They went to Bob Geigel and said, we want to turn bad guy, turn heel, so Downtown Bruno can manage us. I had never even met them before that. That was quite an honor. It meant the world to me. And we turned heel. Well, they turned heel. I came in as a heel. They turned heel against Rick McCord. And then Pork Chop Cash came down and made the save. So we had the big program, big angle with me managing the Battens against Pork Chop Cash and Rick McCord. And this time, Geigel let me kind of do my thing a little bit more. Not as much as Memphis, but a little more. And me and the Battens got over great. They were, honestly, if time was magic and they were still in their prime today and they were both still with us, God willing, they would be main event tag team on SmackDown or Raw for sure. But back in those days, 30-something years ago, almost 40 years ago, as y'all know, the tag teams were the Road Warriors and the big Powers of Pain and Akeem and Big Boss Man. It was all big, huge guys. The little guys weren't being used back then, unfortunately. And like I said, this day and age, if they were still in their 30s or late 20s, whatever they were then, in their prime, they would be definitely one of the top tag teams, if not the tag team champions in WWE today. I believe that with all my heart. I loved those guys. I mean, I hate it when anybody in our profession passes away, even if I didn't particularly like that person. I don't like to hear anybody passing away, period. But certain ones hit you harder than others. Right. And when Brad Batten left us, I just say, I know they're both good Christian guys. I haven't talked to Bart in a long time. I don't know how to reach him. I'd love to talk to him, but up in heaven, Bradley J. Batten, Downtown Bruno loves you very much.
So I want to shift gears here a little bit. And I kind of want to know how you won the women's title.
Oh, it's really pretty basic. What it was, Jerry King Lawler's wife at the time, Stacy Carter, the cat, Miss Kitty, they called her. I don't remember how they did some sort of deal where somehow she cheated or somebody did some cheating and she ended up with the championship. Well, they know she couldn't be a working champion because she wasn't a wrestler. She was just a very good looking young lady, athletic, sure, but she couldn't get in there and take bumps at work. It wouldn't have worked. It was just a gimmick basically for her to have it. So they wanted Jacqueline to be the champion.
Woo!
So Jacqueline, very good friend of mine, I must have wrestled her 500 times in the Memphis territory. She's very snug in the ring. She's not mean. She's not careless. She's just very snug in the ring. Well,
she looks like she worked tight.
Say it again.
She looks like she works tight. They have black eyes and everything.
Tight. Very tight. So anyway, she would have hurt Stacy. Not intentionally. Believe me, Jacqueline's not a bad person, but she would have hurt her inadvertently. I was strictly an interim champion. They knew for me to beat Stacy, I wouldn't hurt her. That's why they had us do it in the snow bunny match. So we didn't have to actually have a match. It was just a bullshit thing. Just didn't put it on me for one day in your home state, Shane, Pennsylvania. We did it in Pittsburgh, PA. The next day we was in Detroit. That's when SmackDown was taped. So it looked like I was a champion for 5 days, but I was really overnight. The very next day, we went to Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, and I put Jacqueline over for the belt. So basically, that's what it was. They needed to get the belt off Stacy. That's all it was.
Yeah. Okay.
So looking back on your.
By the way, and I'm not taking any political stances about anything. I don't do that. But I will say this. For the record, all this talk nowadays about transgender athletes and should they be able to play on the same sports team, whatever. I'm not going to make any statements about it other than all y'all can say whatever you want. I was the first transgender champion in sports history. So suck on that, Caitlyn Jenner.
There you go. So you've done everything, sir, from being being in the ring personality, being a booker, being a road agent, doing all things. When you look back at your career, what's the one thing that you look at it and say that was my favorite moment?
I say this on every podcast, and I mean it. I said it yesterday on Gunnar Rudy's podcast, without hesitation. Y'all may know this, y'all may not know this because y'all are not around Memphis, but my catchphrase, which Dwayne Johnson himself told me, I probably had the first catchphrase ever in the wrestling business. Stone Cold told me that too. My catchphrase, it's like Mama says, it bees that way sometimes. Okay? I made a living with that. To this day, when I go to the store or whatever, even though I'm not on TV anymore, somebody will, hey, ain't you downtown Bruno? It's like Mama says it, but everywhere I go. I swear to God on everything I own. Maybe an hour or two ago, I stopped at the mechanic shop on the corner down the street from where I live, and just to talk to the guy that I know the guy that works there. Now, the guy was in there getting something done in his car. He looked, man, you're downtown Bruno. He goes, Mama says it bees that way. So everywhere I go, that is my catchphrase. Getting back to your question, the thing that stands out to me more than anything, not being main event WrestleMania, not any amount of money I ever made, not any accolade I was given. What meant the most to me when they turned me babyface in Memphis years and years ago, after I was a heel for years and years and years. I was a babyface in the Coliseum, big house, might have been sold out, I can't remember, but I got on the microphone and after the match was over, we did whatever we did. I said, and it's like Mama says, before I could finish it. The entire Coliseum finished it for me. That was the highlight. I mean, it really brought tears to my eyes. That was the highlight of my career. And I really mean that because that's something I did on my own. Admittedly, I stole the phrase from Iceman Parsons when I was in Louisiana with him. I ain't gonna lie. Because back then it was territories. So nobody in Memphis knew that. They thought I came up with it.
Would you put that above being superplexed over the ring by China?
I don't even like to talk about too much about. I don't know. That was I was basically out of the spotlight at that point. It just you know what I mean. I barely even remember that, to be honest with you. No, that was definitely not a highlight in my career.
I mean that was a highlight in her career. So I mean I think that put accolades upon her that I think that it was leaps and bounds above.
Well, God bless her and God rest her soul. I'm sorry how her life turned out because it could have been different. And I say salute. God bless.
Yeah, Joni was a good person.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna say her lie. We weren't like close friends or nothing, but we always got along. You know what I mean? So I just hate how it ended up. She didn't need to be where she ended up, even before she unfortunately left us. You know, it was I just the situation she put herself in and the career she chose after wrestling. You know what I mean? I'm just
No, you're good.
But I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to throw.
So if you had to pick a highlight of your career, just one moment where you could say, "This was my shining moment," what would you say, sir?
I believe I already just covered that a minute ago. No kidding.
I
mean,
know,
really.
I know, but I want to reiterate to the guys and girls out there that are watching you. I think that there's one more that you're missing that I think you know about.
Well, when they put me in the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2021, that was a pretty good accolade to me. I mean, that was a big moment to me. Knowing that Memphis is my home, what was and is and will be till the day I die, Memphis area, Walls, Mississippi, that's a big deal. Not my career, but being elected on my second term now as on the Board of Aldermen, which is like the city council here in the town of Walls, Mississippi, that's a huge deal for me. Being a executive consultant and having an actor play me, that great guy, by the way, on NBC's sitcom The Young Rock, that was a big deal to me. Seeing my dear friend that I've known since he was pre-teen, Dwayne Johnson, succeed and arguably be the most famous celebrity in the world, that's a big deal to me. I mean, there's a lot of big things, you know, that I've been invited to Hunter and Stephanie's wedding. A lot of people didn't get an invitation. I was there, invited. That's a big. There's been a lot of big deals, you know, and a lot of little things that mean a lot too. Because there's a phrase I seen on a wall in a building one day. I actually took a picture of it with my phone. It said, "Enjoy the little things because later in life they'll become the big things." And I never forgot that. I thought that was a pretty valid statement. That I've got another thing on my desk over here. It says, "This too shall pass." I remember that too. When you think the world is coming to an end, this is the worst day of my life. A year from now, you say, "I don't remember. What was that again?" You know what I mean? So certain things just stick with me. So it don't necessarily have to be and none of it has to do with I managed a champion or I was a champion. Who gives a damn? I'm happy that I'm sitting here talking to three really nice guys with intelligent questions. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. This is a big deal for me.
So if you had to look at back from when you started to where we're at today, how do you think today's promotions look to you from where you started?
It's like comparing. You ever heard the saying? Of course you have. Comparing apples to oranges. Mm-hmm. This is like comparing apples to basketballs. It's a whole different thing. I mean, I'll say this. Now that the cat's out of the bag, unfortunately, everybody knows the business is predetermined. I never use the F word because it's not. God. It's predetermined. I can barely get up in the morning. My lower back hurts so bad because I took so many bumps. 90% of mine were from the apron to the floor when the good guy would punch me off the apron. There wasn't no padding on the floor in my day. I was landing on cement or hardwood or whatever. So, but anyway, the difference is if you look back at some of the matches from back in my day and you had no idea that our business was predetermined and nobody ever told you, oh, that's all, whatever. And you just seen it for the first time. After you watch that, you still wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can give you so many examples. Jerry the King Lawler versus Nick Bockwinkel. Greg Valentine versus Roddy Piper. Magnificent Morocco versus Pedro Morales. Phil Hickerson versus Jeff Jarrett. That's just a few examples. If you watch some of those matches on YouTube or whatever, to this day, you wouldn't, if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't know it. Our business was predetermined. Okay. However, the difference now, when you look at it now, it's hard for me to watch some of the things I see because it's so obvious that it's predetermined. I'll jump over you, then you jump over me. Then we'll both jump up at the same time. Then we'll dive over the top rope where there's three guys waiting to catch us. And then we'll do this, and I'll run to the corner, but I'll put my legs up and I'll flip over you. Then when you come back at me, but you'll flip your legs up. I mean, it's just, oh my God, it's like dancing. I can't. But and the other thing is, I understand a lot of interviews now are scripted. I wouldn't be in the business if somebody gave me something to memorize. If I wanted to memorize lines, I would try to become an actor. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can make an interview, and the thing is, nothing against the talent. What it is, there ain't no more territories. We all got to WWF because we were so good at what we did, and Vince and everybody else would always monitor what's going on in all the territories, and it would cherry pick the guys that were getting over in the other territories. They didn't have to have a training facility. We were all, on the road already. We were being trained to be in the major leagues by being in the AAA ball, or whatever. What's the main minor leagues? An A ball or AAA?
It's I think it's like it's the minor leagues, the major leagues, minor leagues, and AAA, I believe.
Yeah, but so the minor leagues, there's like 3 levels: AA and A. I'm not sure which one is the highest, but whatever. The territories were the highest you can get. There wasn't no indies back then either, by the way. If you weren't making a living in the business, you weren't in the business. And I can honestly say, from the day I broke in the business to this day right now, I've always made a living since April 8th, 1979 in professional wrestling. Still make my living at it. I'm on, my own deal with WWE, and I still go to, now that there is indies, I go to these autograph signings, and I go to different promotions like Pro Wrestling Mid-South. They have matches in Ripley, Tennessee every Friday night, and Dyersburg, Tennessee every Saturday night. And I go about every other month, and I'm the special guest referee when there's a big match coming up. So I can still get in the ring and referee. I can't get in there and take bumps no more, but I can still referee. Well, you'll find out, if I can still handle it or not. Here in, I got it wrote down here so I don't forget. In Lebanon, PA, at the Eagles Hall, 6 p.m. Bell time, January 24th. I'm going to referee. So, but yeah, I make my living in the business to this day, and it's all about, I care about the business, and I just, back in our day, it wasn't like these guys now. They have plan B, plan C. I'll try to wrestle in business. It might be fun. It ain't fun. It can be. It's my world. It's my whole life. Everything I got. I'm in my house. My house is paid for 100%. No debt, no mortgage, no loan. It's my house from wrestling. So it's big. It's different. It's all we had. It's all I had.
Amen. Amen.
So we talked about the territories and everything. So I've been around wrestling since I was 6 months old. So I've seen tapes, but how did the relationship come with you and Rob Noxious?
That's a great question. You stole my question.
I love it. There was an organization called IPW up there in Pennsylvania. There was a guy that was a great guy. I wish he would come to the show in Lebanon next month when I'm there. There was a great guy that I think is a hell of a guy named Doug Flex, Doug Yasinski. Somehow he got a hold of my number way back then and wanted to know was I available to work? He had matches in a place called Steelton, Pennsylvania. It was my first time when I met Rob Noxious, and they brought me up to be a manager. And Doug Flex says, "I'd like you to manage." This fella, he introduced me to him. He told me, "This is Rob Noxious. This guy I'd like you to manage." I said, "That'd be great." I didn't even remember who he wrestled that night, but I managed him. And Doug Flex was a great guy. Rob's a great guy. There was a bunch of really good guys on that event. I enjoyed the event. Some people you work with, you shake hands, you walk away. Me and Rob Noxious hit it off the day we met. We became friends instantly. And then I came back to work for Doug Flex in Lebanon, the same building, actually, that I'm going to this next month. And that's when I seen Rob again. And then the last time I run into Rob was I was at the Hamburg building where we used to do the WWF TV tapings. It was in the middle of August or July or something. It must have been 1,000 degrees in that building. Oh. And they brought all of us legends I say that not with ego, but that's what they call it. Legends. It was me, David Schultz, Danny Davis, Paul Roma, Curtis Hughes. Oh God, just everybody. Put it like this: if the building would have exploded, there wouldn't be a washed-up wrestling person left on this earth. Everybody was there. We were all there, and Rob was there. I'll never forget. I couldn't leave my table because there was people lined up to get pictures or whatever. And he went to the concessions, brought me back some nachos with jalapenos and cheese, and I never forgot it. I appreciated that. That's the last time I seen him. And then we luckily got back in touch, and then there was some other guy that was wanting me to come up there for a wrestling event. And I'm not going to get into that, but it didn't work out. The guy, and I don't know, I can't even. I'm sure Shane knows the deal, but I'm not trying to ever cause any controversy. Let's just say it didn't work out. But thankfully, but it worked out that I'm coming to Lebanon and hang out with y'all and see Rob again. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, he's one of the guys. Honestly, and I always mention his name when I do any type of interview or podcast or whatever, because he's one of the guys. It ain't got to be just. I'd rather talk about the guys that aren't household names. They get enough discussion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait to see you in Lebanon on the 24th. This is gonna be amazing. Like, yeah. Oh,
I can't wait too. I can't wait. But yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of great friends in the business, and is it Rocky Johnson, Jerry King Lawler? Without those two, I don't know where I'd be in life. So I love them dearly. But I've had a lot of experiences in the business too. I've got to go places that most people didn't get to go. I got to between at wrestling or just at appearances or like in airports or whatever. I've met so many different celebrities that I never would have had a chance to meet if it wasn't for wrestling. And I've met some really cool celebrities, and like David Lee Roth, what a cool guy. Me and him hung out. He came down to Tunica, Mississippi, which is right, 15 minutes south of my house. He was doing a concert at one of the casinos. Well, the night before that, me and my uncle, God bless my Uncle Larry, he's no longer with us. This is years ago. We were in a different casino. There's a VIP room at the casino where big gamblers go or whatever. Well, I'm not a big gambler by any means. I have a $40 limit. If I lose, I'm done. But since I was on Memphis TV real strong and everybody knew who I was, they gave me a VIP card where I could go in that room, and they had free food and drinks and whatnot. And you could always bring a friend with you or a guest. I always bring my uncle. Unless my wife was with me, I'd bring her, but most of the time it was my uncle. So we were in there, and here, it's not the casino he's doing a concert at, but he happened to be over there. David Lee Roth was in his VIP room, and he was a wrestling fan. And it sucks because this is before cell phones, so I would have got my picture with him. But, we talked and had a nice chat. We talked about different arenas that we, both performed in or whatever. David Lee Roth was a hell of a great guy. Burt Reynolds, when he did the special timekeeper or something at WrestleMania 8, was it 8 or 10? No, it was 10, Madison Square Garden. What a super guy, Burt Reynolds. Nice. I got a picture on the wall with him because that was at WrestleMania. So the WWE photographer took that picture and, gave me a copy of it. And I've got that in there. Great guy. And I'm going to tell you, I've met a lot of celebrities, a lot of nice ones, a lot of standoffish ones. None of them were ever assholes. The one that stands out to me more than anyone, completely non-wrestling related or whatever. And I never even mentioned wrestling to him. I was in the VIP lounge at the American Airlines lounge in the Nashville airport. This is about 10 years ago. Because I had so many miles. When you have so many miles on airlines, you get a free pass to the VIP lounge. In there was John Stamos. And the nicest, friendliest guy I ever met in my life. And I never even said nothing about wrestling or whatever. I just said, he was sitting there and I walked in. He was by himself. I said, Mr. Stamos, just want to say hello. He stood up and shook my hand. He goes, Mr. Stamos is my dad. I'm John. What's your name? I mean, what a guy, right? And about that time, his wife came back holding their little baby, infant at the time. I don't remember her name, unfortunately, but he introduced me to her and said, "This is Bruno," as if he knew me 20 years. And, then I made small talk. I let them go back to their family business, and there was cell phones at that point, but I wasn't going to say, how about a picture? Because we're all supposed to be VIPs in that room, so you don't do that. But he was just the nicest, friendliest guy, and I mention that every time I do a podcast too, because I was really impressed with John Stamos.
So I know that you wrote the book Wrestling in the Truth. You want to go ahead and you want to put that out there and let the listeners know about that book that you wrote? I just bought a copy today because I was interested in it. I want to see what your autobiography is really about. So I bought a copy. But if you want to tell the listeners and tell everybody about what you wrote.
All right. Well, here's the deal. There's a guy. He's a really nice guy named Scott Teal out of Gallatin, Tennessee, which is north of Nashville. He's a publisher. He published that Ole Anderson fella. I never met him, but he published his book. He published J.J. Dillon's book, a few others. So anyway, and I really like Scott. Very, very nice guy, well-intentioned. I wrote the book in longhand, whatever, printed it or whatever, in notebooks as I flew to different towns or if I was sitting in a hotel room, just whatever. And when I got through with it, I sent it to him. He edited it, and he didn't change none of the stories. He didn't, put words in my mouth or anything like that. All the stories are accurate. However, what I didn't care too much for is he changed some of my verbiage and made it where it wasn't as if like we're talking right now. In other words, if I said so-and-so was no good son of a bitch, rotten bastard, by the time he put it into writing, it was so-and-so was an unpleasant fellow and I didn't care for him. That wasn't what I said. You know what I mean? I didn't put nothing in there bad, like so-and-so cheated on his wife or so-and-so did drugs. None of that. I wasn't going to try to, hurt anybody's life or career or whatever. But if I said, this sorry son of a bitch, he would change my words. Like one thing, I don't remember what my original words were. And y'all are just meeting me now for the first time, but I think you can tell by just our conversation. I'm an old boy from Mississippi. Never in my life, not one time did I ever say, wow, that was a real hoot.
What?
But he would put that like in the book, for example. What a hoot that was, or something along those lines. Just, the book is accurate, but it's not a good representation of how I really am.
Sir, as a fellow Southerner, I feel offended for you.
Right. It's just, and I didn't use like the F word or whatever. Before we went on the air, I was telling Shane, I'm not big on all the cussing. Like even when I listen to comedians on the satellite radio, I listen to the channel 98, pure comedy. Some of them ain't that funny, but some of them are hilarious. But when you go to the other channel where it's you M or F-er, let me tell you something, I'd like the F you and the F. It's not funny. It's not hilarious. It's like low class. There's no talent. If you notice the comedians that made the most money, Seinfeld and them, they don't cuss and do all that vulgarity. And I know he's a disgrace now, but like Bill Cosby was a good comedian. He didn't cuss and do all that.
Just glad everybody the special pudding pop
Oh no.
But anyway, I'm getting off the subject. But yeah.
Well, we are at our hour mark, sadly.
Hey, I'm having a blast. Let's do this again sometime.
Definitely.
There's
Guys,
so much more we want to talk about.
Exactly. So remember.
The next time, what we didn't really talk about, we just touched on it, but it would take a whole episode in itself. I would love to talk about my experiences on Young Rock.
I was going to ask you about being an EP because I am a huge cinephile. So yes, I definitely want to know about what it's like being an EP.
Well, I wasn't an EP. I was an EC, executive consultant.
Oh, well, see, even that's still good. She's being an executive consultant. You got to look. Y'all don't want to do that shit. That looks stupid.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. It was me and Chavo Guerrero.
Oh,
The two wrestling consultants.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
Chavo's a great guy. I just spoke to him yesterday. Great guy.
Well,
Great guy.
I do got your number now, so we will definitely set something else up.
Oh, yes, please.
I would love to. So, are all of y'all going to be at the event in Lebanon?
Are you coming, Adrian?
I'm coming. I'm coming. I don't know if Adrian is.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. I have a.
This time I'll be there.
I have to do.
I'll be there.
Well, cool. So I know. I know, Shane. You live in PA, right?
Yes.
So him and I live in PA. That's an Ohio guy over there.
Yeah, it's a Cincinnati guy.
But you
well, I can't wait to see y'all, man. And tell Rob I'll be in touch. And one last thing, is this live right now, or is it?
It's live. It's live.
Okay.
It's live. Go ahead and hit it.
And I'm going to say this one more time for everybody. Eagles Hall, Lebanon, Pennsylvania, January 24th. Event starts at 6 p.m. Doors open at 5 p.m. You're going to see Harvey Whippleman, also known as Downtown. By God, good-looking Bruno. And it's like Mama says, it bees that way sometimes.
Amen, sir.
Thank you so much for coming on and doing this.
Woo! Thanks, everybody. God bless everyone, and Merry Christmas to all of y'all and all the viewers.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Same to you, sir.
All right, guys.
We out, ladies and gentlemen. We are out.
We're out.